Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 11 of UnCoMfY CoNvOs. This is your boy Shiv, your guy, your man, your dude, whatever you want to call me. And today we're going to talk about being brown anxiety. I bet you haven't heard about that one before. Maybe if you are brown, you probably have experienced some stuff. But to talk about this topic today, we have a very qualified guest in this field of being brown. I mean,
Yes.
he's brown,
Yeah.
as far as I know, and but he's more than that. Not just limited to that. He's a comedian in New York City. I met him a couple of years back. A great guy. He performs all around the city, all around the country. He's up at the Comedy Cellar. He's been on AXS TV's Gotham Comedy Live, MTV's Beyond the Wall. Better Things FX season 2, stand up NBC. So he's been on everything. I mean, if you haven't, you should know him by now. But if you don't, I'll introduce just in case. He's an amazing comedian, and also across the social media, he calls himself a late bloomer.
Yeah, for sure.
So without further introduction, thank you so much for being on, Gibran Saleem.
Thank you for having me, Shiv Patel. So this is the 11th episode?
Yeah, this is 11.
You should label it 9. On iTunes. Just see if anyone catches that. They might get the wrong idea. But it's brown anxiety.
Yeah.
That's also inducing anxiety in non-brown people.
Yeah. I didn't think about that, but I do. I now make that connection.
They did. No, I don't
know. I do want to start with something I was curious about just across your social media. Was you call yourself a late bloomer?
Yeah.
Does that stem from anything?
Yeah. Basically, I didn't get into my first relationship till I was 23. I didn't have sex for the first time till my 23rd birthday.
Yeah.
Me being able to, I mean, I guess some of this gets into identity and stuff like that, but honestly, I feel like as far as being comfortable with myself and social interactions, I just became myself later than the average person does.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. But definitely, it's definitely related to relationships and stuff too.
Okay, you
can identify with?
Yeah. Yes, I can. I definitely can. It may be a brown thing. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see.
But that's interesting that you tie it to relationships, like almost specifically.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the first time you have sex, it really it's a really pinnacle moment in your life career. But forget sex. I mean, that was also my first relationship.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's kind of tied together for me. But that I definitely think that's a huge attribute to being a late bloomer, because confidence or lack of confidence and comfort with other people, I think a lot of that's kind of related on a Venn diagram, not a Venn diagram. Yeah, some sort of diagram.
Yeah, some diagram.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I definitely agree. I think that I'm also like I was late to that party.
Yeah.
So I still haven't even been in like a super serious relationship yet or anything. Yeah. So I could definitely relate there. I mean, was puberty later? Or, I mean, that could be TMI.
No, it's the opposite. No, as a brown guy, for sure, puberty was like 3. Puberty was way before everyone else. Man, I had armpit hair in like 1st grade. I had hair on my toes. I was so self-conscious about hair, body hair, any hair, just hair, period, as a topic. I was scared to talk about hair as a topic. It was a very sensitive subject. I was the only brown kid where I lived,
Yeah.
So No one else had hair.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't get, that's weird because then now I feel weird
Okay.
because I didn't get hairy until like later on, especially
Yeah.
like and I'm not going to go too in depth into it for our listeners, but I think especially for like,
Go in depth. Let's get
I,
specific now.
I just started getting chest hair now.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
When did you start getting chest hair particularly?
Definitely in my teens. I think chest hair came, any hair that I got was before everyone else. But chest hair probably definitely teen. Yeah, because I was very self-conscious about body hair. I would nair my chest as a teenager.
You would what? You would nair it?
Yeah, got rid of all the hair.
Oh, I didn't know that word. Nair?
Oh, so Nair is a product that you put on and you leave for 10 minutes and then you wipe it off and the hair goes along with it.
Oh.
Yeah. Insider info, do not put Nair on your nipples. Uh,
Okay.
it will burn your nipples.
Like icy hot?
TMI for all of your audience.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, Nair smells. But anyways, I think Nair is actually no hair, and they cleverly, creatively merged it into one word.
Oh,
Um,
got it. Got it.
yeah, but yeah, I did that in high school out of insecurity. Uh,
Yeah.
and maybe I don't know. Maybe I thought it looked better. I don't know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's interesting. So you were under the impression that a hairless chest is
yes.
more attractive.
I think there was a lot of insecurity with being a minority on a
Hmm.
subconscious level, and I just didn't want to be different.
Oh, that's a
And
good point.
yeah, and if my peers didn't have any hair, then I wanted to be one of my own. I wanted to be like my peers. I
Yeah.
didn't want to be outcasted or different in any way, to an extent.
Yeah, so you wanted to match everyone else. Now it's interesting because you did mention you were the only brown kid who like grew up in your in
Yeah, I moved around a little bit. Um, So I was born in North Carolina. My family moved to Virginia.
Mhm,
My parents got divorced
mhm.
very quickly, but I stayed in Virginia till I was 12 or 13. Then when I was 12 or 13, I moved to Western New York in a small town called Dansville, New York.
Mhm.
And Dansville is very rural, very small town. It's like the south of the north. There's farms, there's a lot of open land, not a lot of people. Everyone knows everyone in the town. Not a lot of diversity.
Got it.
So when puberty on paper was kicking in, I was in Dansville in upstate New York, Western New York, yeah, which is like
Okay.
7 hours from New York City.
Yeah.
It's closer to Buffalo in Canada than it is New York City.
Okay. Got it. And that's where
Yeah.
you hit puberty.
Yes,
Got
unofficially, officially.
it. Was it tough though to be one of the only? Because I had a similar experience growing up. Was it tougher to be one of the only brown people like in your and with that less diversity?
Yeah, especially, but also you don't really process things with the insight that you do when you look back.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't think I consciously thought about it
Mm.
like I can now. It was all just like, this is life. And it was a normal that it was my normal. So I didn't know anything different than what was there. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't have a comparison or let alone the ability to conceive a comparison. I was like, this is, you're very in your own little bubble.
Yeah.
Even as an adult you are, but when you're younger, you have no comparisons. So yeah, that was my normal and I didn't know anything different. I had insecurities and subconscious things like me being aware that I was like, oh, I was embarrassed about body hair and facial hair and all that stuff. I didn't know why when I was younger. I just knew I didn't like it. I didn't like how it made me feel. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
It's very surface level thinking.
Yeah. Would you say that it was mainly you thinking that which made it a problem, or did other people point it out?
Uh, People definitely pointed it out. I mean, I had. Oh, well, first off, let me clarify to your audience. I don't normally wear glasses.
Yeah.
I normally wear contacts. I
Yeah.
don't like wearing glasses professionally. Um, I'm in Virginia right now at my sister's house, and I've been living out of my suitcase for the last month. In the sense that I went to LA for pilot season, and I had like a month's supply of my daily contacts and everything, and then quarantine and all that hit, so I just didn't go back to New York. So that's why I'm wearing glasses. Also, I normally do not. I don't know if you guys can see this facial hair thing
It's
going
like
on.
Gibran has
That's
a
not something I ever do. I was just shooting a sketch in a few days as a coronavirus conspiracy theorist, and I wanted to get a rednecky kind of look as much as possible. I'm not sure if it'll make me look like a redneck or someone that a redneck wants to capture, but yeah. So this isn't my normal look. But anyways, what is the topic? What are we talking? I forgot. Oh yeah. Okay. So facial. Yeah, I had this mustache when I was in like third grade.
yeah.
Uh,
So
I mean, I'm exaggerating, but definitely in middle school, I also had a unibrow kick in.
ooh,
Yeah, I
I
had
had it. I had
braces,
one.
I had buck teeth, I had glasses. I was not attractive on any level.
Yeah.
So that's also mean like I didn't get attention from girls till I was 23.
Got it.
You know, I was never a guy that other women found attractive.
Oh, okay.
So that's
Okay.
part of the late blooming thing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I
So
can
my
complete.
personality is built on that kid with a big nose that wasn't proportionate to his face or
Yeah.
body, and with facial hair and teeth to match. My teeth are straight now. I have big teeth,
Yeah, I see him.
which is great because they're straight. But these big teeth are a double-edged sword when two of those teeth are like attacking you, and the rest are like shy puppies.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That sounds like you had a lot going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
I what I'm wondering is like, obviously you were aware of it. You're more aware of it now, looking back, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Did people call you like I had a big unibrow growing up. My sister would be like, "How's your eyebrow doing?" Like, did you? It's not funny, Javon.
It's yeah. I've been there. I feel your pain.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, but you have a brown sister. I'm sure you could have easily been like, I don't know, how's your eyebrow doing?
Yeah. That's true. But I wasn't like good at that back then.
Yeah, it's true.
I did people in school, and I don't want this to bring back bad memories, but it will if it did happen. Um, did people like pick on you for your hair or your teeth or your unibrow?
I also had older brothers,
Yeah.
so they kind of beat everyone else to the punch.
Okay.
uh, I'd say the biggest thing I was made fun of was my nose.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Before the facial hair, before all the hair stuff, um, I think the hair was my own insecurity, but I was pretty young when I shaved my mustache. And I basically shaved my like I had a faint little mustache kind of like this. I shaved it myself.
Yeah.
I think one of my older stepbrothers might have like helped me or like, and then I had a unibrow and I took a razor, I think it was a Mach 3. It was definitely a Mach, and I did that just
Yeah.
straight to center. I remember, but here's the thing. You probably know this. A lot of guys know this with a lot of facial hair. If you have a lot of facial hair and you don't shave it, and then you shave it one day, it doesn't look like you regularly shave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your
You're right.
upper lip upper lip will just look like a newborn baby. Like
Yeah.
fresh, it's soft, it cries like
Yeah.
like so I had that there. I also had that here.
Yeah.
So I had a fresh infant center eyebrow thing, and I definitely remember being walking into school casually, like, "Hey, this is how I always look, guys." All right, I didn't, and then my nickname was Gillette.
Oh my God.
So I quickly got a nickname of Gillette. Yeah,
Because they knew you shaved your
it
unibrow?
was so obvious. Yeah, I probably had razor bird on my forehead. It was very obvious.
It you had like you're brown and then like the middle part is just straight white.
Yeah, I looked like I was Idaho from the center of my face, and it slowly grew into the subcontinents.
Did you I know this happens to me all the time. Did you shave too much? Did you take off too much?
I think I'm pretty sure I did, but then I started going to the barbers.
Yeah.
I don't even know what came first between me shaving it, and I'm definitely at one point a barber just did it.
Yeah.
Or I think he asked me, and I was like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, please.
So my eyebrows right now, what you see is an illusion.
Yeah.
I pluck the center and then I also get a lot of the top. So when I was in college, I think my sister made me go. So it was just like I had thicker. So my eyebrows are probably twice the size of this.
Yeah.
And that's how I rocked it till I was like 20 something. And my sister was like, Gibran, it looks weird. So she took me to like a brown lady threading place. They threaded it up top and at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I was like, this doesn't look good at all.
Yeah.
I was like so insecure about that. I was like, I have like girly like model eyebrows now, which is not
Yeah.
female model eyebrows.
Yeah.
This is like terrible. And my sister agreed. She's like, yeah, they went in. They treated you like a girl. And I was like, oh man. So I just let it kind of grow back to normal, and I kind of just like started like
plucking. Did you cry when you got them threaded for the first time?
I don't think I vocally cried, but my ears did a lot of the talking. Or my eyes, not my ears. I'm definitely had tears coming down. You can't help it. It's such a specific pain.
Yeah, same. I can relate. The first time I get them threaded now too.
Oh really? Oh cool.
Pre-quarantine, I got them threaded.
Nice. Yeah.
And it was very painful. I mean, sometimes like I wouldn't cry, but like an internal deep cry.
Yeah. So how were you introduced to threading?
I was bullied because of my unibrow too. So I had a lot of that growing up, and then I had these bushy eyebrows, and if I kept like shaving them, and like they just grow back so fast, and I did that through college and stuff. So they were clean in college, but junior year of high school, that was like the peak of my eyebrow hair, in terms of being like the peak of the unibrow. It was like the most prominent.
Yeah.
And then my parents and everyone close to me is like, Shiv, like we have to do something about that. Like it's no longer, you're not that young anymore.
Yeah.
And so I started just like trimming it like simply. And then that like got me by for a while. And people are like, oh, like, Shiv has two of them. And then in college, like, and again, like with the girls thing too, it was like, oh, like, I was starting to groom a little bit more. So like that helps,
Yeah.
And then after college, my cousin was like, oh, like, let's go to an eyebrow threading salon. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to go. And he's like,
cousin or girl cousin?
Huh?
Guy cousin or girl cousin?
Guy cousin.
Yeah.
Nice. So he was like, let's go. And I'm like, I don't want to go. And then I'm like, does it hurt? And he's like, no, it doesn't. And that's where I got trapped. So then I went and I got them threaded. I didn't get them threaded for probably like a year or 2 years after that. But now that I'm living on my own, I do it because they last like 2 weeks and I don't have to trim them.
Nice.
Yeah.
How much does it cost?
In the city, it's like $8.
Oh, that's pretty cheap, I think. Yeah, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
Yeah.
But that's horrible. People called you Gillette when you walked into school.
Yeah. It's pretty funny now in retrospect. I was definitely called Gillette.
That points to something that I didn't experience being brown growing up. Like people would never, aside from my family, right? Like if I walked into school, people wouldn't point to like some of my like features in a way. Like my friends or anybody or like in school, I'd never get like picked on for a specific feature that related to me being brown.
Yeah.
Um,
But I don't think they were saying that. I could have been Asian, like
yeah,
Asian, not South Asian,
yeah,
East Asian, and I don't. I think I had a unibrow because I was brown, but I don't think I mean, I've definitely experienced a lot of racism and stuff, but I don't think the Gillette comment was they were like if they call me brown Gillette, I'd be like, yo, that's fucking racist. But they just called me Gillette. It would be weird if they called me brown Gillette. That would just
yeah,
be, I would question their racism,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
their style of racism. But
It'd be too overt,
yeah, I know if you're gonna be racist, at least be like racist
subtle.
in style. Yeah.
Yeah. um, no, that's it. That's interesting. I see what you're saying. You don't think like that particular comment was relating to the fact that you're brown. It was more of like
Yeah.
he just shaved his eyebrows
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah.
But you said you have experienced some racist, like have you ever had moments where like you felt like in a social situation where, oh, like this person's saying this to me because I'm brown?
100%.
Yeah.
But what time frame? So I mean, I could pull from so many different experiences.
Yeah. I'd say when you're younger, probably, like
So I
growing
think
up.
one of the first conscious uh, realizations that I had was, I'm pretty sure it was third grade. There was a kid named Jordan who's cool. I'm assuming we were friends. I think we were friends. And we had to do a report on a state in America.
Yeah.
We were probably studying the 50 states at the time. And we had to do a report about it. And you get to pick your state.
Yeah.
I think me and Jordan, but no one could do the same states. I picked North Carolina because I was born in North Carolina. This was in Virginia. I picked North Carolina because I was born in North Carolina. Jordan picked North Carolina because I believe, I could be wrong, he was also born in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So only one of us could do North Carolina. And he's like, well, you can't be from North Carolina because look at you and look at me. He was a white guy, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, but I'm born in North. He's like, no. He was like, look at you and look at me. And he's like, I'm from North Carolina. You're not from North Carolina.
Got
And
it.
I didn't, but when you're a kid, you're like, maybe I'm not from North Carolina.
Yeah.
This guy's got a point here. Was I not? Like, you don't understand. So many things are above your head.
Yeah.
So intention wise, this kid wasn't trying to be racist.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it clearly is a racist interaction, but I also believe in intent and intention, and it led to me being confused and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I don't think his intention, he was just like, you're worse.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there was a hierarchy from that statement to race. It was just like, no, in his head, he is like, from a scientifical point of view,
Mm-hmm.
you can't be from North Carolina because you're brown.
Yeah. Yeah. He was so young that it probably wasn't. Like you said,
it
it
was
wasn't
very
intentional.
innocuous, very naive. But
Yeah.
like that's one.
Yeah.
That's one example. But those are the kind of experiences that you have as a brown kid in America, or as a minority in America, that leads to your, I guess, you may internalize it as a kid, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm different than some people, or maybe I'm not a normal.
Yeah.
and that becomes internalized. But it also, I believe, I mean, I'm a pretty positive person. I also believe a lot of these experiences add to your character and personality depending on how you respond to it. It could add for better or for worse.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people don't understand is, as a brown person, and I'm assuming most minorities, you have an ability to joke about race that majorities don't have.
Yeah.
And it's not about who can say what, and because those are a different set of rules. But the difference is you've experienced and processed something on so many different levels that you can now look back on it with humor.
Yeah.
So if I say this on stage, I can make it into a joke versus majority group of white people are like, oh wait, can we laugh at this?
Yeah.
But the general rule of thumb is if I'm laughing at it and it's about myself, you can laugh.
Yeah.
But people don't always understand that. They're like, oh, this is where we listen. I'm like, yeah, but I'll dictate when you listen and when to laugh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
still has to be funny. But I think a lot of minorities have an ability to laugh at certain things regarding race. Certain things, there's certain things that are like, clearly that's a serious topic, but when you're talking about making fun of your own stereotypes and stuff like that, you can do that because you've been through it.
Yeah.
Like laughter comes from growth
Yeah.
a lot of times. Yeah.
Yeah. Those stereotypes that you talk about, and even that we might joke about, like being brown stuff, like because we feel like, you know, we can,
Yeah.
because we've experienced it.
Yeah.
Do you think that like those stereotypes obviously come from like a lot of, I'd say, like movies and just things like we might see on TV too? Like people joke about it already, like, or at least me growing up, like you'd see Apu from The Simpsons,
Yeah.
or like there was this show on NBC called like Outsourced. And
I never saw that. That was
yeah,
fairly recent, right?
yeah, it got taken off the air in like a year, but it was basically like it based in like an Indian call center.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and even in that, and I'm just thinking of right now that guy in The Big Bang Theory, the Indian
Yeah.
guy.
I don't know. Is it, Kunal?
So I probably, yeah,
Kunal?
that was, see, we can say that.
Yeah. It's probably true. Yeah.
It's probably true. But like a lot of those stereotypes, I think, like, you know, with Apu, it's like owns a convenience store, like whatever.
Yeah.
And like with the Canal guy, or like the guy in The Big Bang Theory, it's like awkward with girls. And like, do you think
Yeah.
that fed into our upbringing?
Yeah, for sure. Apu definitely, and I know Harry Kondabolu has covered the topic a lot, but it resonates with a lot of people. Yeah, Apu from The Simpsons. I do not have a positive. I like The Simpsons, love The Simpsons, but the accent of Apu was an accent that other white kids replicated to mock you.
Oh,
And
got
I
it.
definitely remember people doing accents on the bus and stuff like that. And you're like, like, ugh, like,
Yeah,
I don't even know how to do accents anymore on stage. Like,
yeah,
even if I do an accent, which it's not necessarily rooted in reality, but my own association from a kid was not positive with hearing an accent.
yeah,
So I'm like, am I being hacky if I do a Desi accent? But at the same time, it's also an accent from my own family. Like my mom has
yeah,
an accent, my dad has an accent. So but for some reason, like I'll hear an Arab person or I'll hear someone from the South and they'll mimic their parents and they'll do the accent and it doesn't hit me as in this uncomfortable thing.
yeah,
But for some reason, when I do it of my own family, I'm like, oh, am I putting myself backwards? Am I putting my people backwards? But it's really rooted in just a poo.
yeah,
If that
yeah,
didn't happen, then it wouldn't necessarily,
yeah,
But then also, like Russell Peters, his accent is so good. I never felt uncomfortable seeing his accent.
yeah, yeah. And if I guess if it's really good, like it's kind of, it's the truth.
Yeah,
That's like if you can do it well, that's
yeah,
exactly what happened. You know.
yeah,
But yeah, the stereotype is definitely there. I would say, like, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever experienced it like blatant, like the stereotype of like fitting it and like having to like, oh, Shiv, like you must be good at math. Like,
yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like I am good at math, and my dad does own a convenience store. So
That's
like
actually
a lot
funny.
of the times, like the stereotypes can sometimes be true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're
I feel
rooted
like
in a lot of true things. Yeah.
that I think that's also where it might get confusing, because then you're like, okay, as growing up, you're like, you see these stereotypes and you're like, oh, brown people, brown dudes are awkward with girls, and then like, or like, oh, we're good at math and science, or like, and then like even with math and science, I don't think I was that good initially, but it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was like, we're good at math. No, Sheep, we're good at math and science.
Yeah.
I willed myself like through the stereotype to be good at it.
Yeah.
And like I wonder if like that yeah, like that stereotype kind of like feeds how you like actually grow up, or like what you actually become.
Yeah. Well, it's also depends on, maybe saying you weren't good at it as a kid, but it also depends on your parents and their own perception of what they want. And we're a culture that comes to America rooted in security,
Yeah.
and we're not risk takers, or at least our previous generations, the ones that are coming here aren't the ones that are. The risk was coming to America, not
Right.
funny.
Right.
So I mean, they also, I mean, I don't know your childhood, but they may have encouraged that more than other fields, or they're like, oh, you should take these classes, or you should do this competitive math thing after school. And
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
those things, so you could also be naturally good at math, or
Yeah.
maybe you're just average at math, but all these other things are going to enhance it.
Yeah. 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 I always found that interesting, like the stereotypes, and then trying to like fit in with them.
Yeah.
Wait, were you good at math? Just out of curiosity.
I think I was above average at math. I was pretty decent. I don't think I was great at it, but I was definitely better at it than a lot of my peers. So I guess, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. We connect on that level.
Yeah, for sure.
Non-brown. That's just a separate.
I used to love the game 24. Did you ever play the game 24?
I've heard of it. I may have played it. I can't remember.
There were just like these cards, and
Yeah.
there's 4 numbers on it.
Yeah.
And using math, you had to make it end in 24. So it'd be like 9, 4, 3, and 1. And whether it's like 4 times 1, 3 times 9 is what, 27, minus 4, that's 23. Obviously, so I would lose, but
yeah,
you try to do that and get to 24. I used to love that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to, I didn't know how to play, and I felt left out because of this, but Sudoku, did you play Sudoku?
I never played Sudoku.
I like felt bad because I tried, like I'd look at the puzzle and I'd be like, I don't know how people, and people would teach me, like non-brown people would teach me how to like do the math in Sudoku, and I still couldn't get it, and I'm like, is there something wrong, with me?
Yeah. I've seen people play Sudoku. I've never played it or try. I don't even know how it is. You probably just aren't familiar with it, and if you got into it, you'd be like, okay, here's a pattern on how to play the game, and then you just get better at it.
Yeah. Did you ever feel pressure to defy a brown stereotype? Like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like growing up, and we have all these stereotypes for what an Indian, like, or just what a brown person might be, a South Asian person. And sometimes do you feel like, oh, like if you're like scrawny or shorter, or like if you, not being good at talking to girls or like flirting and stuff, it's like, do you feel like this chip on your shoulder to be better at things like that?
Yeah, but I don't think that was, I think that was related to my personality versus culture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure one of the reasons why I didn't have sex till so late is it's funny though, like as a comedian, when sometimes I ask people in the crowd, if I have this whole bit about the first time I had sex.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll ask people, I'm like, oh, is anyone like bloomers? When did you, and someone will like, oh, I'm like, what? They're like, when did you have sex? And they'll be like, 18. And I'm like, that's young as hell to me.
Yeah.
Or they'll be like 17. And I'm like, that's not a late bloomer.
Yeah.
The game. But in my head, it's early. In their head, they may think it's late, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as
it's almost normal for like, I feel like a brown person, or like if you grew up in the culture, to have intercourse for the first time at a later age.
agreed, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that might be just holding sex or marriage and merging them together more sacredly.
Yeah.
Not even
Yeah.
as a
Yep.
religion, but also as a relation. But it's like, oh no, you don't do that until you're married. Or I know in Islam, with Muslim backgrounds, it's like, oh, that's haram. You're sinning unless you're
Oh, got
married.
it. Got it.
So even though I wasn't religious at all, and I was like, I mean, when I was younger, I was like, when I was a teenager, I was atheist. I'm not anymore, but
Mhm.
so I didn't even care about religion, but also somehow culturally integrated into me. I still didn't want to have sex until I found the one.
Mhm.
But as far as defying stereotypes, like being interaction, I think certain things just come from my own weaknesses, which
Mm.
could be attached to culture and growing up, but basically things that I wanted to prove. One was social skills.
Mhm.
And I mean, I could root that in culture, or maybe that's just a Gibran thing, but any
Mhm.
type of weakness I have is something that I would put forth effort to improving because I was insecure about that weakness.
Yeah. And it's not even like at that point, it doesn't become cultural. It's just like, okay, this is my weakness. Let me try and develop
Yeah.
this.
But girls were definitely a weakness. And
Yeah.
interacting with them.
Yeah.
So that was definitely, I put a lot of thought and effort into and there's a lot of failing along the way, but yeah.
Yeah. And I honestly think like stuff like that, and not just like girls, but like just even any developing any skill, it's like that's just
Yeah.
universally you have
Oh,
to
for
fail.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get better.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's not even, it's probably not even, it's not, you know what? It's not a brown thing. It's everyone experiences what we've.
Yeah. But not everyone works on their weaknesses.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
I would say brown people, I mean, yeah, it is personality, but yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's just a different, also as human beings, not everyone has a weakness that they're self-aware of, A, and then B, willing to work on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but that varies person to person.
Yeah. That makes it interesting to me, because I think that even with the stereotypes, it's like for me, as I get older, at least, I become more self-aware of the stereotypes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
let's try and not be the stereotype.
Well, especially as a comedian.
Yeah. 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 That's true.
Because when you talk about certain things are like, am I setting us back?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What can I do? And there's also some things that I make so many inappropriate. Okay, I started out with a 9/11 joke on this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, should I even be saying it? So within but that's another thing of what I was saying. I've experienced so much 9/11 racism.
Yeah.
That within my brown family, I make so many stupid misapropos jokes.
Yeah.
That I probably shouldn't make with people outside of that circle.
Yeah.
So there'll be things that I'll say that are funny to my family or a close circle of friends, even if they're not brown.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you should say that on stage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And it took me a while to come to like, oh, no, I shouldn't say that on stage.
Yeah.
Because with us, you guys know me enough. And I could say certain things, but I'm like, oh, if I say it on stage, I'm just looks like I'm fulfilling a negative stereotype towards myself.
Yeah.
And contextually, it may not hit.
Yeah. You get more self-aware in front of audiences of what, and I completely agree with that. I think even like with a lot of my bits, I'm like, oh, like it's time to start talking to girls, and like all of a sudden I'm like, as I get older and like I hit 24, I hit 25, I'm like, okay, Shiv, just be normal when you talk. Like, you don't have to be this weird character all the time, you know? Yeah. And I realize it because of the audience. Like people laugh at it, but like sometimes you're like, you just realize like, oh, like even with the thing you're saying with 9/11, it's like, oh, like this is what this says about me.
Yeah. So I was with two friends, and we were talking about things, and I think I was talking about Islam or something.
Yeah.
I wasn't preaching. You guys should join. But I made a joke because Islam has pillars,
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how many, like, in each pillar stands for something. And I go, how many pillars? And I was like, well, it used to be 7 pillars, but we knocked down the first 2. I said that to that as a stupid, sarcastic joke. And they laughed. They thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you should just say that on stage. And I'm like, hell no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's such an edgy, I'm clearly joking with you guys. And it's like an edge, but I'm like, that would not fly out, no pun intended, on stage. But like, yeah, that's an example of like, I'll say crazy shit with my friends or with my family and we can laugh at it. But I'm like, oh, that can't, if I say that out of context, you'll be like, whoa. Or I can say that to my brown family, but if a different brown family hears me saying that in front of non-brown people, they'll be like, yo, bro, what the fuck?
It's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That you can only say certain things around super close people,
or even other brown people if it's only brown people.
Yeah, if it's only brown people.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, the listeners, you're just getting a sneak peek of some inside brown jokes right now.
Yeah,
very. And are not heard by people. I was gonna say with the stereotypes. And obviously, like, it sounds like you've expressed that you've experienced racism, like, with that, like, just with stereotypes. I mean, 9/11, whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like I think of Kumail Nanjiani, like the comedian, and I know you did like a recent like comedic post with him, but I think like even him getting in shape for this Marvel, for the Avengers movie. Like, he's 6-pack, like, huge, you know, and you just see a strong brown person, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, thoughts in what way? Because
like, I think it like defies the stereotype of like a brown person.
Sure, without a doubt, which is great. I don't know if it's great. It's just different.
Yeah.
I don't think it's being perceived as muscular versus non-muscular is like a stereotype that matters, but there's definitely no fit brown dudes within American media that you're like, oh, that dude's jacked.
Yeah.
There's like Amir Khan, like there's a boxer in England.
Yeah.
There's a few people, but not like with their shirt off. Well, I guess the boxer, but excuse me, not within American media. And Americans don't all know Kumail. We know Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah.
But not every, but I think it's great. I definitely think it's comedically challenging.
Yeah.
Because it's a dramatic transformation, and I'm curious to how how you look is also tied to certain things you can say.
Yeah.
If I'm like morbidly obese, I can make fat jokes all day.
Yeah.
If I'm skinny and I start talking about big people, then they're going to be like, whoa, that's hateful.
Yeah.
But and that goes with race, it goes with anything. But yeah, also people perceive, like, if he's really muscular and tough, his sensibility that people perceive, I feel like his jokes are going to hit differently. And but he's a great comedian. He'll evolve or catch up to that or acclimate towards it if that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's very interesting that it has your jokes have to change with your body.
For sure.
I would also say though, like, I find it very inspirational that he made that transformation, and that
great, yeah.
That also, like, the fact that like he went from the difference is too, like, he went from not being that way to being that way very, like, fairly quickly. So it's like, it's just like, for the young brown peeps out there, like, you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
All you need is a contract with Marvel for millions of dollars and a personal trainer way out of budget. And you can do it.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
Yeah, it's that easy.
That easy.
And do you think that would, like, even seeing that in media, do you think the young brown people now, like, seeing that would cause more, like, would create more, like, make more brown people work out? Like, if a lot of people look up to him?
I definitely think so. For some reason, my instinct is to say not really, but yeah, definitely. When you're little, like you, especially, and this is pre his movie.
Yeah.
Whenever the movie comes out, people are going to see a brown hero. I don't know if he's playing a villain or a hero.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
Hopefully a hero. That'd be awesome.
Hopefully a hero. But he's just setting us further back.
Yeah, yeah. It's like we're all super excited. Like he's fit. Like this is great. We needed this in the brown community, and then he's like a villain.
Yeah. Super Saddam. No, that's not what we wanted.
Super Saddam. That's super
no, we wanted spicy Obama, not super stuff. What is happening? But no, definitely. I think when you're a kid, anyone you see, you want to be like, and if there's no brown people to look up to in your circle of what you consume, then yeah, for sure. So if people are like, oh, he's a tough guy I want to be, then definitely people will aspire to like be tougher. It'll be like rooted in them at a younger age. So like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I can do that. Also, just knowing that you can do something has a huge impact on you pursuing that.
Yeah.
Like, I probably would have started stand-up comedy earlier if there was a brown comedian, if there was more than one brown comedian that was like everyone I knew talked about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know I could pursue comedy until I was older.
Yeah, until you see other people do it. And similar, like I'd seen, I mean, even you were an inspiration to me to like keep going too.
Yeah, thank you.
Doing comedy, yeah. I would
odd
also
choice and inspiration, but yeah.
Say again.
Odd choice and inspiration, but
there's the comedy.
Yeah.
But I would agree with you. I think similar, like seeing brown people in comedy made me want to keep going in it, and also gave me belief to work on it. And then, but with these other categories of like having a strong, like seeing a strong brown person, like now, you know, now you have one guy who's doing it, and it's like, but even in terms of athletes, like you see no brown people in the NFL or South Asians in the NFL. So it's like, oh, like, you know, I feel like the belief is harder in those categories where we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if there's like, I hope one day, you know, there's a way, but
I think there will, but it's also coming like your parents were probably maybe putting you in advanced math classes or they weren't putting you in like advanced soccer practice.
Yeah. That's true. And generally, I also feel like in those situations where, you know, there aren't too many people, like even if you're trying to become a comedian or trying to become an athlete, and there aren't too many examples of people like of your culture or of your race that are that, like you said, like believing in it allows you to put in the work to do it. So it's like, one of the things that I feel like it might just be a personality thing of like certain people who like, you know, maybe there is the first like brown South Asian great athlete and in America, and that person just had to get set in their head like, oh, okay, I can do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's possible. That's cool. I just, you know, I just really want there to be a good brown athlete, you know.
I think there will. I think it's definitely not rooted in our culture though, in America.
Yeah.
Like there's brown athletes, like I'm sure there's like tons of like dope cricket players.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Cricket, but the generations, but the groups of the families that come to America is his own subset of a family, and they're not gonna come to America so their kids could be good at baseball.
Yeah,
like they're not gonna, because the odds of them succeeding in baseball versus getting an A+ and AP organic chemistry, like easier one way and it's more stable.
Yeah. That speaks to like an interesting topic in terms of being brown too, in a way that it's like the parental pressure from.
For sure.
I would say with that, like there's a bunch of things we can hit with that, but one of the things that we're talking about now is like your parents want you to be in more security. So like career wise, did you ever feel pressure to be in a stable profession, or did your parents give you that type of pressure?
There's both.
Yeah.
And also I remember, and also because my parents are divorced, they're two different family styles and households. My
Hmm.
mom is much more open and liberal and non-traditional
Yeah.
than my dad's household, which is like, my dad was an engineer. He wanted us to do, anything secure or stable, like that comes with the respect that brown cultures apply.
Yeah.
Um, so when I went to college, I actually went for the reason why I chose the college that I chose. I was living with my mom's house, so I had kind of had more of my mom's rules.
Hmm.
So I actually went for an art program at a college at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. I wanted to get into graphic design. They had a great program. The reason why I went there specifically is also because my mom was like, "All right, your sister goes there, so I'll feel safe," because it was in Virginia and my mom lived in Western New York. So I'll feel safe if I know that you're going to somewhere where your sister is, because I was definitely more wild than my sister
Hmm.
near end of high school. My sister is doing something relatively traditional, dentistry. So she's fulfilling some sort of a stereotype. Now, the stereotype that we get as doctors, but low key, people don't know that it's also now moved to dentistry, because that's
Hmm.
like the new doctor.
Yeah.
Um, but once I actually got to college, all the other brown people were pre-med.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And and this was like me going from being surrounded by white people to be surrounding the college that I went to was very diverse. Not just, it was black people, brown people, like masala brown, salsa brown, white, Asian, like, so, and I'm looking at and I'm seeing brown girls for the first time, and I'm like, oh snap, I'm attracted to you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I
That's good.
couldn't be attracted to them when they didn't exist before.
Yeah.
And so there's this like peer pressure for me wanting to be peers with these other brown people that were
Yeah.
never in my life before. And I'm like, so I was pre-med at one point,
Yeah.
and part of that pre-med thing was like, I felt a certain connection with the community, the brown community in college.
Yeah. And I think
I mean,
that's,
I still had other family pressure about my mom. I went to art school, but mom never took it seriously because it wasn't an art school, it was an art program. And eventually I picked up psychology, and my mom was really pushing for pre-med. My stepdad was a doctor. My dad was trying to get me. So there was pressure, but different. But there was also social pressure that wasn't actually pressure. It was me wanting to be like all the other brown kids, not having that, which was a different thing.
yeah. That's very natural. I think I felt that way too growing up.
Yeah.
And in college, it's like you do want to hang out, and it does make sense. I think
Yeah.
too. Like you do want to hang out with the other
Just
brown people.
camaraderie. Yeah.
Yeah, they can relate to you in probably even at a higher level.
Yeah.
Most of them. So would you say like that was another factor? Even like once you're in college and surrounded by brown people, did you flock more towards the brown community?
Uh, Definitely, to an extent. I've always, and I was like this in high school too, I've always been, rather than being with one specific clique, I've always had one foot in multiple circles. So I
Similar.
was cool with the brown community,
Yeah.
with like the Indian fraternity, with the MSA, Muslim Student Association. Like I had access to all these different communities,
Yeah.
and I was friends with the different communities. I was also in a fraternity.
Yeah.
It was not a brown fraternity. It
Yeah.
wasn't a white fraternity either. It was incredibly unusually diverse fraternity of so many different races.
That's awesome.
However, the reason I joined it was because there was an Indian guy who I thought was so cool and funny, and he was like trying to recruit people.
Yeah, got it.
But yeah, but I
You're a
definitely,
brother.
huh?
You're a brother.
I was a brother, yeah. Uh, and I'm still friends with people from all of the different groups,
Yeah.
I was in. I founded PASA at VCU. It's probably dead by now, but it was called PASA, Pakistani American Student Association.
Yeah. That's the
Like I definitely had like, I was like, oh, Pakistani people, I'm Pakistani. This is cool. Let me start this organization. Like, let me like bond and like, breathe life into different aspects of college campus.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I love how that was like I was about to say that's the spirit. It's probably just doesn't exist anymore.
Oh yeah, it was barely surviving when I was there.
That makes sense. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Similar experience. I would also say from observation that I think, like you said, a lot of people a lot of brown people are in med school. Like you kind of want to do that. Like dance teams were a big thing too. Like you want to join that, like the fraternities. It's like I think it's just natural to want to have that camaraderie
for sure
in a new environment. I would also say another thing, one of the last things I want to bring up is the parental pressure to get married to a certain person. I mean, arranged marriage, everyone talks about it, but do you feel that?
Not as much as I did.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about being a comedian. You've already broken all the rules just by being a comedian.
Yeah.
So like, your parents have this perception of what they want you to be, and you deviate from one thing, and you're slowly loosening their grips on what they envisioned you to be or want you to be.
Yeah.
So, but also my mom is so different than my dad, and they're not together. So that's like, I didn't have a traditional household in the same way that a lot of brown kids did, as far as like two different families with two completely different takes on life and things like that. But so I mean, not to get really deep, but just your parents getting divorced is already taboo.
Yeah.
My mom had already broken the rules of brown culture by getting a divorce. And I'm saying my mom because my mom initiated it. So my mom's already been outcasted within the community at that time.
Yeah.
So her sense of following rules is going to be so much more different because she's experienced rules and breaking them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But
that's a really interesting observation. Just like within the framework of what is considered to be like, and I know I feel it too, and I've heard it talked about in our family too. It's like in the brown culture and like in the South Asian community, you never get divorced.
Yeah.
You
don't.
And so that probably already like at first was like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
So like maybe less pressure to be in an arranged marriage.
But the biggest thing was, so my older sister married a white Christian guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, he like converted to Islam, like not really. And my sister's not religious.
Said converted to Islam in quotation marks.
Yes, ironic quotes. But yeah, but my sister's not even religious at all. But anyways, but the fact that she did that, she's older than me, she already loosened up the straps on the rules of me marrying. Like if you have older siblings, symptoms as well, that go hand in hand. But if they deviate from a traditional path, it's less frowned upon when you do it. It's still frowned upon, but your parents are like, their seatbelt has been loosened and they're more comfortable with the crash. That doesn't make any sense, but good analogy at all.
The frown isn't as big.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's much well said. But yeah, so I mean, my parents have preferences and stuff, but now at this point, they just want me to not die. Their standards of success, of their perception of success, has completely changed for me.
That's how much you've loosened the grip.
Yeah. Now it's just like mortality. That's it. Yeah. As long as I can eat food, that doesn't matter what food it is anymore.
Yeah.
And not die, they were like, all right, we kind of did our job.
We kind of did our job. No, that makes a lot of sense. So you would say you in your situation, you probably didn't feel as much pressure in terms of the arranged marriage thing or any of that.
No,
And
I definitely didn't have the same pressure that I know a lot of other of my brown peers would have had.
yeah, yeah, and in a lot of the movies too, you see it all the time. Like, I mean, even The Big Sick with the one with Kumail, but also like just any Indian movie ever. Like, almost like they always have like you show pictures of the girl or the guy.
Oh yeah, no, but my parents have definitely tried to low key set me up, but my mom does not have the same taste that I have.
Yeah.
Like I'm confused at her choices, and I'm like, yo, like why would you think that this is a match at all?
Yeah.
But also pressure, as I mean, we live, I believe, brown culture is very male dominant, and
Yeah.
there's clear biases, and the social pressure that a woman would have versus a man is it's way harder for a brown girl to deviate from the traditional path than a brown guy.
Yeah, that's a really good
Way
point.
more social repercussion. There's social repercussion for both genders, but for women especially, it's way more challenging, way bigger obstacles.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Because it's even more it's more
More taboo.
more taboo.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's more cemented in the culture, like as a woman in the like brown community, that to be a certain role,
Yeah.
in addition to not only fitting within the guidelines of like the culture, but then also fitting within the guidelines of like the gender within that culture too.
Yeah.
And even yeah, like my parents and stuff, it's like it's very it's traditional, but they both enjoy that. But it's like that's how it works. But it's like, you know, the traditional, you know, woman takes care of like family, home, and then man does like the career stuff. And so there's that
But
traditional.
yeah, there's that traditional pressure, societal pressure that comes from the family, but it also becomes integrated into your own personality. So I felt that a lot when I started doing stand up, and the dating life for me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, brown girls aren't fucking with me. Not as a comedian. This was like 8, 9 years ago. I was like, oh,
Really?
okay. They want the doctors. They want the traditional provider roles, and I get it. I understand everything. I'm on a risky. I'm an investment. I'm not a product.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm like Apple before the what it, iPhone. What was the
Before the
iPod?
before
Yeah,
the first successful device.
yeah.
The first,
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, they're for yeah. I'm like pre all that.
the first device that made a lot of money.
Yeah, but if I'm pre-med, if I'm in med school, that's a whole different thing. Cause like, oh, you're guaranteed as long as you follow these steps. But where the risk of comedy and the
Yeah.
clash with cultures, it's non-linear and there's no guarantees, which is the antithesis of what we dream, like what we want. And
Yeah.
that's integrated into dating. I'm sure guys same and girls same. But I felt it when I started dating. I was like, oh, brown girls aren't gonna fuck with me because
Yeah.
I'm fitting in the mold of their perception that was instilled upon them from a child.
Yeah, that's so true. And even recently, or just in general, like I'll hear around like families and stuff, like brown families, like the parents will like sometimes if someone's not a certain career,
Oh, for sure.
if the guy is not a certain career,
Yeah.
then they're like, no, you can't.
Yeah, 100%. There's so much family pressure involved too.
Uh,
I mean, that's a big part of it too. But, you
so
know,
true. I mean, obviously, like we're, you know, we do comedy, but and we're probably more liberal, but like I
for
think
sure.
that I don't agree with that.
I don't either, but it is what it is, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
This is cup half full. It's a good thing because you don't want to end up with someone who's not, you don't want to end up in a family that's looking down on you all the time. And you don't want to end up with a girl who doesn't respect what you do or like what you do. That's a terrible recipe for a long-term relationship and marriage.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if I date someone who's like, oh, comedy, or if I'm dating someone who's, which I have, who are like, oh, but you should try medicine. You're smart. You could do this or blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, cute at first, but then it's like, oh, you don't respect what I do, which is
Yeah.
not a good recipe.
Yeah. Definitely.
Like, ultimately, you want to end up with someone, no matter who you are, what your background is, who supports what you do and believes in you and is okay with what your dreams are and you pursuing them.
Yeah. That was deep. That was like poetic, man. That was awesome.
Thank you, man. I'm named after a poet. That doesn't apply to me, but yeah, I am. I'm not a, but yeah, clearly I'm. Yeah,
Yeah. I
correlation between being named after someone and being similar to who you're named after. Anyway,
what would you say, just to close this off? I think we dug pretty deep into that pressure
yeah.
in terms of marriage, but what would you say? And I don't know if you have a story of like your most awkward dating experience or like trying to talk to a girl experience. Like, do you have a story of like?
Man,
Because I can think of one off the top of my head.
there's so many.
I'll
But
get.
I'm just trying to like remember them.
I'll give you mine, and then
Yeah.
like maybe that'll jog yours. So the first time, like I was super into someone like in high school, and like there's like this basketball game, and I was like, okay, this is your time to shine, and I hadn't talked to her like ever,
Yeah.
and it was like a big basketball game, like a lot of the school is there, and so I was like, okay, we're gonna do it. So I started jogging up the bleachers. And also, by the way, this was at like a whiteout basketball event, and I'm brown, so
What's a
stuck.
whiteout?
White, everyone wears white,
Oh, that's funny.
and everyone
Were
was
you wearing white?
huh?
Were you wearing white?
I wore white, but I still stuck out because I was brown.
Clearly, you stuck out even more. Yeah.
I always say I was a brown speck in the midst of white.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I started. She was at like the top of the bleachers, and I started jogging
You're
up.
like one chocolate chip on a giant cookie with no other chips.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that chip even supposed to? I think that's this is a sugar cookie. How did this chocolate chip? Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, that's a too much. I've never come up with an analogy like that. But so I started running up the steps, and she was at the top of the bleachers, and I tripped and I fell, and the game was going on, and like I hit like rock. I just hit like in between the bleachers, and it made a really loud noise.
Oh my
And
god.
everyone like stopped and like looked at me, and I was like, I'm good.
Were you wait? Did this girl know you?
Of me, but I never actually.
Were you like running to chase her to talk to her? Like what was?
Sitting down
Oh,
top of the
okay.
bleachers, and then I just ate crap.
So she didn't even know that you were running up to her.
No, but
Okay.
I think it was kind of probably became clear once I fell because I was like close, kind of,
Yeah.
and it was like, yeah, she knew after, but at that point, it's like I don't want to talk.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was being I was laughed at, so I was like,
Yeah.
that
Well,
was my most awkward experience, I think.
oh, that's not even that bad.
Yeah.
You just tripped and fell.
One of them, yeah.
What? How did it end up? Did you ever talk to her or like?
Yeah. It was fine. Like we went to the dance together. Like it was fine.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow. That's you went to the dance together. Dances were big.
So I'm trying not to be too specific because I don't know who's gonna listen, but
Yeah.
whatever. At this point, we're comedians.
Nobody's listening, shit. I'm just like, I have no idea. So, happy to be here. Oh, okay. Social awkward moments for me. Yeah, this is definitely an awkward. I mean, I was constantly in friend zone.
Oh, okay.
But I remember breaking the friend zone,
Hell
which
yeah.
is yeah. There was this girl. There's so many things from this one specific thing, which is like this girl loved poetry.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about poetry, so she would send me her poems, and I mean, I think I have a bit about this. I'm not doing the bit; it's completely different. But I made up she would send me her poems, and she assumed I like poetry. I didn't know anything about poetry, so she asked me to send her poems.
Yeah.
So I like started making up poems, but I didn't know what I was doing. Said all these shitty poems. But anyways, so she thought we were just like friends.
Yeah.
Through her poetry, she's revealing like intimate details about her emotional life. And there's these poems about guys, and I'm like, clearly these guys are me. Like, I'm like, your poem is called Biceps. That's not me for sure. Small nose? That's not me. So, but eventually I was at her place. She had an apartment in college. It wasn't a dorm, and nice apartment. And I think I went to her place with the intent to reveal my true emotions.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I'm not gonna say her name, but I was like, hey, I don't know, I think we were talking, and I was like nervous the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, when you have a crush on someone and you're friends and you're young, you're just like, oh my, everything's such a big deal. Everything's like,
It's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, that was it. That was my world. And I don't know what I said. I must have said like, hey, I like you, or like, I might have even said we should go on a date. I don't know what it was.
Oh no. No,
just like, but I went all out. Like I was, it was clear that, oh, this dude likes me.
That's awesome.
And her response was two-part response. The first response was, "Aw,"
Oh no.
which is not what you want to hear.
Oh no. That's not.
You don't get awes from like, "Aw, let's fuck." Like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Not that was my intent, but and then they're
that's
like,
that's weird. That's the only way it happens for me. But
yeah. Yeah. It was awe, and then she said, but it was awe, and then she said, but I just want to be awe, but I still want to be your. She's like, aw, but I still want to be your friend. Like it was. She said it. I forget what she said exactly. I'm like blanking out, but she said it in a way that she said no without saying no.
Yeah. Dude,
Like it was almost as if we had assumed that I was already going to get rejected.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like, okay, so like she already processed like clearly this is a no.
Yeah.
And you should know that this is also a no. So let me just get past saying no, and let's get on to rebuilding this friendship that you just broke. Yeah. Your goofy ass thought there was a chance. Like that's what it was.
That's so degrading in a way that it's like you felt that assumption.
Yeah, not like consciously, but I was like, oh, okay, that was okay. That was a no for sure.
Yeah, okay,
she just didn't say no. She's already trying to repair the friendship, and I'm like, I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, but I would still want to be friends though. Like she didn't even say no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She skipped a middle phrase.
Yeah, she skipped the middle phrase. I was like, wow, that's well done. Well done. And it was so quick, I didn't even really get a chance to process rejection. I'm like, she's on like, let's repair the friendship. And I'm like, yeah, we should repair the friendship. I clearly fucked up.
Oh, that's funny. Dude, I had a similar experience. There's this one time this year, I was like, I was sitting, like, we were at her place, like, in a room, and, like, she was like, I was like, oh, like, we were hanging out, and, like, we had a date, like, I, like, you know, went to dinner, like, I paid for dinner, stuff like that, you know? Mm-hmm. And then we were in her room, and she was like, oh, like, it started getting later, like, it was, like, 9:30 or something, and she was like, oh, like, I actually have to go grab ice cream with this guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? I was like, what the hell?
It was like a dinner date?
It was like a dinner date. Yeah.
It
was like,
yeah.
I paid for it and everything. And like, it was
oh, man.
And we just met. Like, it was new, too. So it was, like, clear that it was, you know? Like, we weren't friends.
Where was this?
This is at school. In college. But like, I could totally, Like,
So you paid the bill on the date?
yeah,
And then you were like, so you want to go back to my dorm room, or you want to go
I
talk
wasn't I
about
wasn't that
life?
suave at that point. So
Oh,
we
yeah,
went
yeah,
back
yeah.
to her. We went back to her. we went back to her place, and we just like had apples, and like
Great
that's
choice.
not a euphemism for anything. And
I'm
so
not sure what that would be a euphemism for. If you know what I mean. Some big old apples.
and no, and then randomly, like we were just hanging out. I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, like we were just talking about random stuff, and then like learning more about each other. Then all of a sudden, she was like, I mean, I get it if you're like, you could easily just be like, if you're not interested, you'd be like, oh, like I'm gonna go to bed soon. But like, made it a point to like say like I have to get ice cream with another guy,
Wow.
and I was like, that was such a like even I can relate to your experience in that regard,
Do
but it's
you
also
think
like
she was making it a point, or she just lacked the social awareness and fluidity at that point in her life, where to know that, oh, that might hurt his feelings,
I
and
think she
that
was I think she was making it a point because also another thing, like when we left like the place we were eating at, like she
yeah.
pointed to like there was like the Prudential Center building in Boston, and like she pointed to the top of it, and there's a restaurant there called the Top of the Hub, which is very expensive, and she's like, yeah, like a guy took me out there once. And I was like, why'd you say that?
Yeah.
Why'd you say
It's interesting how your act out of her, you make your voice deeper.
that?
And I was like, a guy took me there. Like, wow, who is this girl? Who is this monster?
I
Did she climb to the top of the Prudential Center? What exactly? I'm going to get ice cream with another guy.
oh man. Fuck. I think maybe it's me trying to fabricate in my mind that she's like evil.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, that makes sense, but yeah, maybe applied not the best way.
I wasn't aware of that, but now every time I do a girl's voice,
Yeah, maybe it's just this girl though, but
yeah, it was this girl.
but
Uh,
yeah, that's tough.
yeah, so she missed a few phrases, I would say, but I can definitely relate. We gotta wrap up because we're running out of time. But I just want to play a game at the end to bring it back to being brown.
Yeah.
This game is who is more brown.
Okay. All right, let's do it.
So I'm just gonna say things, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be hard. All right, so good at math and or science. Oh, you established that you're good at math.
Oof. Good at math versus, that's a great one.
Yeah.
A great game. Ugh. I would say science. But man, those are really good. Those are tremendous.
But I think you may have missed. I just said like if you're good at math or science,
Oh.
brown. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I thought you were saying what's more brown, being good at math or being good at science?
Well, let's talk. Let's say that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Wait, what was the actual question then?
It's just basically going through checks of like if you're good at math, like we've established that we're good at math and science, so like that would be one in our bank. But it's like whoever has the
Oh.
most is the most brown.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought you were gonna say topics, and then you're like, "What's more brown, this or that?"
Yeah. But
That's a fun game.
what do you think is more brown, math or science?
Uh,
You said science, right?
yeah. If we were doing it like how I originally thought,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
I would agree with you. I think that science, just because I feel like that's more med schooly.
It is, but then there's so many IT and engineers,
Yeah.
which is more math oriented. But science sticks out to me more for some reason.
Yeah, science
Good
wins. And we're both good at math and science, so we'll count that as we both fit that stereotype. Did you go to a lot of religious functions growing up?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so you went to a lot. Like how often?
A lot. Up until I was 13, my life kind of revolved around the brown community, specifically the Muslim community.
Okay, okay,
So like exclusively.
Okay, so you win there. You win.
Okay.
I didn't go to too many.
But
So
but high school there was, yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna give you a check on there.
Okay.
Myself an X. Career. Well, we both kind of
Yeah,
are
we're both comedians.
going
Uh,
against the grain. I was gonna say to because I knew this would happen. What would be your second or third career choice?
well, I went to grad school for psychology.
Got it.
So I would do therapy with people, cognitive behavioral therapy, probably research as well,
Yeah.
but psychologist.
Okay. I'd say I'd be like a real estate person. So I think that you win in that because it's more science.
Yeah, it is definitely.
I'm gonna give you that one. Notice how this game is all based on my bias.
No, it's funny because I'm super Americanized, whitewashed. Yeah.
And then I have cheapness, just frugality.
Oof. I mean, I think comedy and poverty and cheapness go hand in hand. I'm not cheap on a date, but when it comes to I will count.
For ladies listening, Ron's not cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm giving to someone else, but when it comes to me, I will definitely cut all costs as much as possible.
Okay, that makes sense.
Quantify that.
I think you win again because I remember us having a conversation pre podcast about how you do a lot of coupons.
Yes, did I?
Yeah. Yep.
Like today or
No,
another?
not today. No. Wait, like weeks ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it was about the emails.
Yeah. Yep.
Basically, any company you can think of, I've signed up to their email list for that promotion.
Yeah.
To get that at least that one time 10% off, multiple email count. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You went. All right. You got that one. I'm kind of worried now because you're already gonna win. But anyways.
I don't want to be this brown. Yeah. I want some moderateness.
What would your last meal be? A South Asian meal?
Well, if I without thinking about it, as soon as you said that, I thought of chocolate chip cookies.
Okay, so
So
I would say mine's like chicken tikka, but I'm vegetarian now. So paneer tikka masala, so I think I got that one.
Okay, yeah, you definitely got that one then.
Yeah, chocolate chip cookies with one chocolate chip in the middle.
Yeah, I'm the chocolate chip.
Yeah.
I think. I'm eating myself in this scenario. Definitely chocolate chip cookies though, yeah.
Okay, cool. So Shiv wins one.
What if I said brownie though?
that would be very brown.
It's all brown. It's called brownie. That would be it. That'd be tough.
I still wouldn't give it to you.
Okay, that's fair.
I still wouldn't give it to you because I need one.
Puns and wordplay did not apply to this game.
And then height. I just knew that I'd win. I know you're taller than me, so I was like, let me give myself a shoe in.
Okay.
You're like, all right.
Is being shorter a brown? Would you?
Yeah, I googled. According to Wikipedia, 5'4" is like the.
Wait, this is so interesting.
Average male. That's what I saw on Google.
The average brown male.
Yes.
And is that India, Pakistan,
I think it was mainly India, but I assume that it'd be around 5'4" for like India, Pakistan.
Yeah, it's probably the same.
How tall are you?
6 feet.
That's awesome. That's great.
That's okay. You know, the tallest person in the world at one point was Pakistani.
Say again?
The tallest person in the world at one point was Pakistani.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Random fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
I wrote a joke about it.
Yeah. If I just had a few of his inches.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny though.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
I'm happy with what I got. You know, I am 5'7", but I feel like I'm 5'7.5".
5'7" is not bad at all.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than 5'4".
Yeah.
You're above average.
Yeah, I'm above average. But I win that one. So, because I'm shorter. So we got two. So I got two with the last meal curry and the height. You won cheapness, career, and religious functions growing up, and then we tied on math science.
Oh, okay.
You are
Oh,
more
so
brown.
2 versus 3. Oh, it's the landslide.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
Yeah, 3 versus 2. That's a landslide. So Gibran is more brown than me. To
All
anyone
right, cool.
out
So,
there.
so what happens? You being the dedicated loser. What happens?
I don't know. I have maybe just have to buy you an ice cream or something. I don't. When we're
No,
back in the city,
you
I
have
mean,
to live with your own shame. That's the brown way.
yeah, that's my. Yeah, I've been creating these games, and like it's just like for
That's
each
fun. That's a fun game.
yeah, there's no stakes. It's like and someone wins and it's like great, and someone
Yeah,
loses like great.
yeah. So the title's always good.
Yeah, but I'll create maybe I'll create stakes in the future. I mean, for brown, I mean for we could like get some extra curry. I don't know. That's a layup.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to address on the
Cool.
pod. Do you want to do any plugs before we end this?
Yeah, just follow me for all those listening at Gibran Saleem, and I'm about to do something super brown, which is just phonetically spell it out for you. At Gibran Saleem, all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the other stuff too, but Instagram and Twitter, I guess, are my favorite. At Gibran Saleem, that's G's and giant, but they're gonna see the spelling of my name.
Yes, yeah. I'll release that.
Yeah, just at Gibran Saleem, follow me.
Yeah. Follow him on everything. I follow him. He's very funny, hilarious, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And for our listeners, stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Peace.
Peace.